Welcome to the Michigan Passenger, brought to you by the Michigan Association for Railroad Passengers. On the weekend of October 8th and 9th, 2011, Amtrak's 40th anniversary exhibit train visited Jackson, Michigan for the train's Michigan showing. Jackson Station is Amtrak's oldest depot, being in service for over 137 years. It was the perfect centralized location with great historical significance for the train to be displayed at. As you can see, this event was for the entire family. Both young and old came out to explore the many exhibits and stands at the station. The most popular of these exhibits were the Chuggington toy train set and model railroad display by the Michigan Central Model Railroad Club, where the young railroaders could get a hands-on railroad experience at a young age. The exhibit train featured 2 restored Amtrak locomotives and featured 4 1950s restored Budd passenger cars, along with a solo Amfleet used as a rolling railroad store. We were invited by Amtrak on a special private tour of the exhibit train. To start off, we were invited into the cab of Amtrak P40, number 822. Trainmaster Mauricia Mars was gracious enough to give us a tour inside the cab of the locomotive, explaining the controls and features of a General Electric P40. 822 was built for Amtrak in 1993 by General Electric in Erie, Pennsylvania. This 4,000 horsepower locomotive will provide the pulling power for the exhibit train. It was originally based in New Orleans and operated on various long-distance routes. The 822 was later reassigned to Albany, New York, and operated in the Northeast until stored as a surplus in 2003. It was selected as one of the 15 P40 locomotives to be upgraded and then returned to service as part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. She then took us through a corridor to the engine hall, where she explained the various upgrades number 822 received when overhauled at Beech Grove.
4,250 horsepower, even though this is a P40, you didn't have to rebuild this guy for higher before.
Later, we were invited inside Amtrak's NPCU number 406. It was built for Amtrak in July 1988 by EMD as a 3,000 horsepower F40PH locomotive, number 406. It was rebuilt as a non-powered control unit in 2011 at the Beech Grove, Indiana maintenance facility. As a locomotive, the 406 operated all over the country on various routes before being stored in 2001. It was slated to become an NPCU to augment the push-pull fleet, and chosen to be part of the exhibit train because it can control a locomotive without the expense of additional fuel, allowing the train to operate in either direction without turning around. It will also provide the head-end power to power the headlights and the HVAC systems on board the train.
How you doing? I'm Steve Ostrowski, Amtrak's 40th anniversary trainmaster, and I'd like to welcome you aboard our exhibit train. One of the first items you see upon entering, oil paint from J. Craig Thorpe, noted railroad artist. We had this commission for our train. Did this specifically for us to buy this poster in our cafe. We also have a drum head. Something you don't see too much on the railroading. This brings back the romance of the railroad. We had this fabricated by our Beech Grove shops specifically for our train. And this display here is our first set of dining car china. We have our waitress in our 1970s uniform here. 2 passengers dressed in 70s finery. This we call the Amtrak Blue. We have the full complete set here. we found an original bat of the fabric in our storeroom. We have our seat shop down in Wilmington, Delaware, creating this for us. This train here is represented our first set of equipment that we're running throughout the system called a rainbow train, which basically represents rail cars from all the different railroads around the country. The idea behind having these tubes here with our model trains are to denote the break in decades from the 70s to the 80s, 80s to the 90s, 90s to today. As you go through the train, you'll see the different sets we have. This picture here is a shot of our turboliner equipment coming from Albany Rensselaer down to New York City. This was on the inaugural run when we stopped running the Grand Central Terminal and down into Penn Station. So all of our Amtrak trains would meet together at one central location. Amtrak throughout the years has owned a number of different engines. With the engines come different horn types. This wall here is a small collection of what we have directly from the people that made them. They actually work. You can hear the different distinctive noises, sounds, chords that they make. Right here we have a dwarf signal that you see in terminals and yards. It gives you 4 different aspects. You can play around with them. We have a description of each one on the wall here to tell you which one we can do per signal. Right here we have a stop signal. Basically we can stop the train. Right here is a control stand from a locomotive. This would be called the AAR, the American Association of Railroads Control Stand. This was a traditional control stand that we've used for years. Right here we have the throttle, you have your automatic brake, your independent brake. These 3 controls, you operate the train. One of the major benefits of rail travel is the greenest form of travel we have right now. We are now pushing with our green promotions here about Amtrak, all the benefits that we have here. Also big in the 90s was diversity. Back in the day, generally had father and son working on the railroad. As time goes on, we've included many different people, many different races, nationalities, and ethnicities. It's part of what makes Amtrak so great. Okay, what we have here is our Acela train set, our high speed, America's first high-speed rail set. Each engine has 6,000 horsepower. Get up to 150 miles an hour within a matter of seconds. Amtrak steps, the next step forward is e-ticketing and printed home tickets that we have here that you can just buy online and print up when you get your printer. Basically what we have is a handheld device. Right now we're using iPhones. And we just scan your ticket, and then it'll take it out of our system, and print up a little seat check. It's all done with minimal amount of paper. Right here we have 2 different types of catenary systems. We have the old, slower one, which allows us to run about 130 miles an hour. This one is now good for 150 and more, actually up to about 220, but we currently do 150. Basically what we have is a very rigid system here. So if you were to just say pull down the wire in a certain section, we pull down miles and miles of wire. This right here is called constant tension. You can see it's a very loose system. And this is only mile lengths with 5,000 pounds of pressure holding down each end. Right here is you have the pantograph. The carbon rod collects the power from the catenary. Brings it down into the motor, powers it up. The trains that run, like I said, with the Acelas at 6,000 horsepower, or our HHP engines, which are 8,400 horsepower.
Hi, my name's Mildred Stalin. I'm a lead service attendant with Amtrak, and I am honored to be working in our gift store, which is on the 40th anniversary train. Here in the gift store, I sell a variety of t-shirts for adults as well as children. I have engineer hats, Amtrak hats for adults. I even sell the Acela train in HO and N scale, as well as various cars. I'm certainly honored to do this. Oh, and by the way, pinwheels also for the 40th anniversary train. We have mugs, lapel pins, you name it, we've got it. The Acela train, I've sold 2. One last week in Chicago, one in Jackson, and they're HO scale. I'm going for N scale for Milwaukee.